You care for a jelly baby?
Why, yes, I'd love to have a jelly baby. What are you trying to do?
You care for a jelly baby?
No, you crazy son of a...
Simple no thank you would have been sufficient.
Hello, everyone. John here. I'm glad you could stop by. Years ago, when I was much younger, one Saturday morning, I went to turn on television to see what was on, and I encountered Doctor Who. It was Tom Baker, who stars as the fourth Doctor. I never heard of him. I didn't know anything about him. Didn't know anybody that had watched it or knew anything about it. But I was immediately drawn in. Even at a much younger age, I was in first grade, we would go, my brother and I, to a Saturday matinee and see monster movie and sci-fi. And of course, Doctor Who has an element. Sometimes it's heavily sci-fi. Sometimes some of the creatures are monster-like, opponents are monster-like. Additionally, when I was young, I had seen a movie called Hound of the Baskervilles. It was made in 1959. It starred Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee about Sherlock Holmes. Now, these two starred a lot together in Hammer films, which were produced a lot of monster movies and things of that nature. I was attracted to the Sherlock Holmes character. The characteristics that Sherlock Holmes had were similar to the ones that Doctor Who had that I liked, in that the character is, both of them are knowledgeable about a wide range of subjects. Additionally, very observant, perceptive, will pick up little things and be able to add them together. And additionally, brilliant in putting together and also finding out a theory of what it all meant or a solution if it was a problem. And frequently there'll be some other people that didn't notice the things, but even when Sherlock Holmes or Doctor Who points them out, the people would come to a wrong conclusion or whatever. And Doctor Who or Sherlock Holmes would have to say, no, that ain't right. Let me tell you the way it is. So I enjoyed that about the Doctor Who also. And the fact that I didn't know what was going on. I mean, what was the background of this guy? I did not know. Even after many, many episodes, I never ran into anybody that watched it or knew anything about it. It took me years before I ran into somebody that actually watched it. And of course, there was no internet, so I couldn't easily find out what's the deal with this guy. Where'd he come from? What in the world? What is it? Like later episodes, they would show out of order. I don't know why. But the first time I saw Leela, it was in Tellings of, I don't know if I'm saying it right, weng-chiang. And it's like, where did she come from? That's one of my favorite episodes, by the way, in the past. I enjoyed it very much. And just like I said, Sherlock Holmes, I think somebody even referenced the Doctor is similar to Sherlock Holmes because it was in the 1800s in England. I also liked Leela as a companion. Part of it, she's an early one I saw, but she's independent, strong. It isn't like she's standing around waiting, please, Doctor, help me. It's like Centauran with body armor, knife in the probing vent in the back of the neck, boom, dead. I think she was the second woman to ever kill a Centauran. Jennifer Lawrence was the first. I'm just kidding. Don't tell her that. She probably believes it. Don't let her believe it. I like K9 was with him, but K9 was like a cup of coffee, one or two sort of invigorated, but a whole pot, it gets on your nerves. So a little bit of K9 I liked. I eventually saw a bunch with Leela and then saw the one where she leaves. I think it was called, what the heck was it? Invasion of Time. The Centaurans came through to Gallifrey. They used another alien race to trick to get through the defenses to get in there and invade Gallifrey. But Leela met somebody and fell in love and then stayed there. Much, much later, then I saw the episode where the Doctor lands on a planet and meets Leela. I'm like, why are they showing them in this order? Why don't they show them in the right order? I can figure out what the heck's going on. I still enjoy it. Even years later, when I saw many, many of the Doctors, I call Tom Baker my favorite. And it may be because he was the first one I saw. But part of it is the personality, the quirkiness. Now, all of them, the different variations of the Doctor had their own individual quirkiness. But I think Tom Baker's came partially from his own personality. I've seen interviews, even when he's much, much older. And he has a weird like sense of humor, mannerisms, voice inflections and stuff, a quirkiness that he really has. And I think he added that into the character and it came through. So he's still my favorite, but probably too because he was the first one that I saw. Next, I eventually saw John Pertwee episodes, who was the third Doctor. Now, this only increased my confusion. I didn't know what the heck was going on. Again, they weren't in order, so I didn't see him change from anybody, regenerate. Nor did I ever see Tom Baker regenerate from somebody else. I hadn't seen those because I didn't see all the episodes. And they weren't in order. So I see these John Pertwee, and he's driving around this car, some kind of jalopy little car. I'm like, where's the TARDIS? Is that the TARDIS? Did he change the TARDIS into a car for some reason? What the heck's going on? Now, he was working with UNIT. Now, I had seen UNIT with Tom Baker episodes, so I knew what UNIT was, but I was confused about maybe he's got tired of flying around. He got this new car on sale or something. He likes to drive around in that. Eventually, though, there were some episodes where he was either working to fix it or experimenting to figure out how to use it. I forget. There were several, and I'm getting mixed up which one I saw first. But then I was like, is the thing TARDIS broken by the Cybermen? Break it to pieces? Did they smack him on the head and give him amnesia? What the heck's going on? Why can't he use it? I don't know. But eventually I saw some Patrick Troughton, which is the second Doctor, and eventually saw the War Games episode where he eventually calls the Time Lords. And I think it's been so long since I've seen it. He set these cards up and contacted them. He didn't really want to contact them, but they were sort of stuck. He didn't have any choice. So when it appeared that he had fled them for some reason, he had done something wrong. It was sort of very kind of nebulous, vague. Didn't really want to contact him, didn't have any choice. So he called them, and then they stripped him of his memory and made him regenerate. And then it's like, gee, I saw these all in the wrong order. I'm working my way backwards. It would have made a lot more sense story-wise. But again, I enjoyed the stories because it doesn't matter if there's some mystery in it. The stories added up. Much later, I saw some of the William Hartnell, the first Doctor. And again, the further back, the fewer episodes that I saw, I don't know if they're all available. Some of them were missing and such. I think they erased some. They're sort of dated, stilted, slow. Some of them, I definitely wouldn't pick some of those to show if somebody had never seen a Doctor Who and heard about it and say, hey, I want to convince you to watch this show. It's really great. I don't think I'd pick some of those to show to a newcomer to try to interest them in it. I don't think it would. Now, regeneration, is my understanding, is Hartnell was getting bad health, maybe memory problems, and then he came up with regeneration. It was very clever to do, the bringing in other actors. The other clever thing they did in connection with regeneration is to have different personalities. Let there be personalities, not try to say, well, the Doctor's always got to be the same. He's got to be the same crankiness, whatever. All the personality traits have to be the same, and the actors try to fit into that mold. It's better to let the actors have different idiosyncrasies or something, and characteristics, strengths, weaknesses. Some were more funny, some were more stern. It just adds to it, and have that as a reason that when you regenerate, it affects your personality. The one problem, though, with a long-running series with numerous writers is to not have inconsistencies, because you get a new writer and there's years worth of shows. They're not going to go back and watch every episode. So you got to be careful, too, when you're writing something. You don't write something that's going to cause problems down the line. Some stuff can be just get on like a nerves. Like, I'll give you an example, Star Trek. There was an episode where Dr. McCoy puts in the arm of Spock and Kirk, a transponder, like with a hypodermic, like, we got to be able to contact you, find out where you are if you get cut off from communications, caught by the aliens. We can find you and beam you up. And he puts it underneath her skin. It's like, when he did that, it's like, why didn't they do that in the other episodes? All the other times, all the episodes before that, they go down and they take their communicators away, the aliens. First thing, where are they? I don't know. We can't find them. Like, why didn't you use that before? Okay, maybe it's new. They just invented it. It's brand new. Top of the line. This is the first prototype. Okay, next episode. Where is it? Why aren't they using it no more? I never saw that again in another episode. Like, what happened to it? Maybe they got cutbacks in their budget. That's the first thing they cut out. Starfleet cut that out because they're low on funds. Because they didn't use it correctly. That reminds me, because they didn't even use it for what it's supposed to be. They were in a prison cell and they cut it out of the arm of maybe Captain Kirk, and there was like a light or something. It's like a crystal, and then they used it as a focus, a beam to maybe blow the lock off or something. It's like they didn't even use it what it's for. Maybe that's why they cut it from the budget. And another example in the Star Trek, and a very early one, they're bragging about their technology. Like, we can find a lit match on the whole big planet's surface. It's like, if you can find a lit match, why can't you use that to find people? Because the body temperature of a human, if there's a bunch of aliens, I'm sure they don't have the same body temperature. Because even animals in our world don't all have the same temperature as humans. And I don't know what the body temperature of Vulcan is. I bet it's different in human. So you should be able to find with that too. It's like, I don't know. I'm getting off topic. Well, I regenerated. And just like when the doctors regenerate, I have a new outfit. And just like everything else, Disney is taking over. Well, I'm not going to go through all the rest of the doctors in the old time period. I just want to say, though, that every time the doctors changed, it took me a little while to get used to them. But eventually I did. And none of them were really, really bad. I'm talking about the old time doctors. They differ in degrees of how much I liked them, but none of them were bad where I have to stop watching or boring or anything else. They're just different. And it took me time to adjust, varying degrees depending on the person, the actor doing it, and the stories. I did want to tell the story about when I finally met somebody that knew about Doctor Who. I was working by that time, and there was an older lady, much older than me, and she had at least one teenage kid, maybe two. But she mentioned she was going to some kind of sci-fi convention. And I'm like, oh, why are you going to that? And they're like, oh, they're going to have Doctor Who as a part of the thing. I'm like, Doctor Who? Your kids watch it and you're taking them down? Yeah, they watch it, but I love it too. And it's like, oh my gosh, I finally met somebody who liked it. So we were talking, and I asked her who her favorite companion was. Eventually I asked her that, and she says, Adric. I'm like, Adric? Who the hell is he? And like, now I knew who he was, but it's like, if you asked me who my favorite companions were, he'd be way down the list. I wouldn't even be in consideration. Of course, I watched very, very early episodes of many, many companions, so that could be part of it, but he wasn't, he wouldn't even be on my mind. Of course, I didn't say anything to her. I just said, oh yeah, he's great. I love him. Adric, he's one of my favorite too. Like, I finally meet somebody that's excited about the show. I'm not going to spoil it and say, what, are you out of your mind? All the other characters, you can pick him of all the people? Like, no, I wouldn't do that. And any event, she was so excited, but she came back and she bought me a Doctor Who button at the thing. A big one too. It wasn't a little teeny thing. I looked for that thing. Of course, that was years ago, and I'd moved a couple times, but I got boxes and boxes up my attic. I looked through everything, and I couldn't find it. But it's probably typically like anything that when I look for it, like 6 months later, I'll be looking for something else and open a box, and there it is right on the top. It's like, how did I miss that thing? It's too bad I don't have a TARDIS, because then when I find it 6 months later, I could come back and give it to myself looking for it, and I could wear it. I wanted to wear it and have it on, but if I had a TARDIS, I could do that. Oh boy. So anyway, eventually the Doctor Who, the old, stopped for a number of years. And then in 1996, there was a TV movie. And when I heard about that, I'm like, oh, great. Maybe it'll be good and really good. And it attracts a new audience and it can start like a revival. They can start it up again. I don't think reboot was a word back then for TV shows and movies. I don't think it was. But a revival and they start making it. But then when I watched, oh boy. I was disappointed. The actor, like I said, I take time to adjust. In one show, like, he wasn't bad, but the plot, and I don't remember it. It was kind of boring and slow. When I watched it, and after it was over, this isn't going to reinvigorate. It didn't excite me as a Doctor Who fan. It's not going to draw new people, and it really didn't work. Of course, years later, they relaunched it. I think it was 2005. It was Christopher Eccleston, and he wasn't bad. He was fairly good, but again, it takes time to get used to a new actor, and then all of a sudden he's gone. He wasn't on it long enough to be my favorite in the new type time period. A lot of the episodes were, I don't know, more adult. I don't know if that's the right term, like darker, deeper, more complex than the real old ones. So I enjoyed them. And then, of course, David Tennant. I mean, he'd have to be my favorite in the new season, and it could be because he was the first one that had a long period. But Matt Smith was a close second. It'd be sort of toss-up. But again, I throw it to David Tennant for being the long-term first one. Favorite episode? It's hard to say. There's so many, but I like Blink because it played around with the time element in a clever way. Like many episodes, you just use time to get to a place, and then the whole plot is where you're at, and the time didn't really matter that much, but it played around with it. And the foe or the enemy, the monster, whatever the heck you want to call it, was kind of unusual, unique, and frightening. I guess it's similar to Freddy Krueger. Like, you don't want to go to sleep because you know the monster's there, but this is kind of worse because you can see him coming and you gotta try to keep your eyes open, and how are you gonna keep your eyes open forever? And then you blink and like it's closer and closer, like it's so I like that aspect of it. Peter Capaldi, I didn't really like him that much. I don't know if it was the actor or what the plots they started writing. I don't know. And of course the show ended after that. Well, in my mind it ended. Of course, they had to replace the history of the Doctor and then make the original Doctor was Jennifer Lawrence. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, I think she believed she was. Don't tell her. Okay, well, anyway, yeah, I think what they did was an abomination. I guess if you don't have anything good to say, you shouldn't say anything. So I think I'll end it there. And I hope you enjoyed the talk. If you have any comments and questions, but put your comments who you liked as the Doctor, who you liked as the companions. I really like reading comments, and I enjoy them when I get them. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good day.